Attention passionate Washington Commanders fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC East and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Washington Commanders' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Washington Commanders fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with YOUR, FRIENDS and Washington, Commanders FANS. Let's get to the news now, fans. If you've been paying attention to the NFL landscape lately, you've probably heard the rumblings, the whispers about a blockbuster move that could reshape the NFC East and even ripple across the entire league. Yes, we're talking about the potential trade that's been buzzing in NFL circles, an eye-catching, jaw-dropping swap that involves none other than Raiders star pass rusher Maxx Crosby heading to the Washington Commanders. This could be one of those moves that go down in history as a game-changer, a move that might elevate the Commanders' defense to elite status just in time for a deep playoff push. But let's unpack this a little more, because there's a lot to analyze here, and it's not just about the trade itself. It's about what this means for the Commanders, the Raiders, and the entire NFC East landscape. So imagine this. The Raiders, a team currently struggling at 1-6, are in a rebuild mode. They're trying to reset, and part of that process involves clearing cap space, shedding some veteran contracts, and focusing on the future. And Maxx Crosby, a three-time Pro Bowler and one of the most relentless edge rushers in the league, has become a hot commodity. Now Crosby, at just 28 years old, is a force to be reckoned with. He's a player who consistently disrupts quarterbacks, a guy with a relentless motor, standing tall at 6'5", and weighing in at 255 pounds. In 2025, he's already posted 4 sacks in just 6 games, along with 25 tackles and 8 tackles for loss. His PFF grade as an edge rusher is an impressive 82. Placing him in the top 15 league-wide, and projections for the rest of the season suggest he could finish with around 14 sacks, which is nothing short of elite. His career totals, 48. 5 sacks and 245 tackles in 64 games show just how impactful he can be. And let's not forget, Crosby is healthy, no significant injuries this year, which is key for any playoff push. His style is relentless. He's known for his high-pressure rate, averaging 2% pressure and about 4.2 hurries per game, making him one of those players who can turn games around with a single play. Now, why would the Raiders consider trading Crosby? Well, for starters, they're looking at a $10 million cap savings, which is significant in the NFL. They're also trying to rebuild around younger players, and with their offensive line allowing 28 sacks, ranking 25th in the league, they need to bolster their pass rush and protect their quarterback. That's where the intriguing part comes in. The Raiders are reportedly interested in acquiring Clelin Ferrell, a 2026 second-round pick, in exchange for Crosby. Ferrell, who has registered a modest 2 sacks so far this season, adds depth but isn't quite the game wrecker Crosby is. The Raiders see this as an opportunity to add a draft pick that can accelerate their rebuild process and perhaps find a future star. But for the Commanders, this is a golden opportunity. Now, let's talk about Washington's defense, which has been somewhat underwhelming this season. They're ranked 28th in sacks, with only 12 total. That's a glaring weakness, especially considering the NFL's emphasis on pass rush and quarterback pressure. With Chase Young sidelined due to an ACL tear, the pass rush has taken a hit, and the defense, which once was a strength, is now trying to find its groove again. Adding a player like Crosby could be a huge step toward fixing that. Imagine Crosby lining up alongside Jonathan Allen. Those two could evoke memories of the 2019 Ravens, who after a trade, added some serious pass-rushing firepower, leading to a significant jump in sacks and overall defensive dominance. And it's not just about sacks. Crosby's presence would do wonders for the entire defensive scheme. His ability to generate pressure, upwards of 30% pressure rate, which is a substantial increase from the current 18%, means more quarterback hurries, more knockdowns, and more forced turnovers. We all know that a dominant pass rush can change the complexion of games, especially in the playoffs, where a single sack or forced fumble can be the difference between victory and defeat. Crosby's track record of disruptive plays, combined with his knack for forcing fumbles, he's in the top 8 league-wide for forced fumbles, makes him a real X-factor for Washington's defense. And don't overlook the psychological impact this would have on opponents. Facing a line led by Crosby, who's known for his relentless effort, would make quarterbacks think twice. especially in crucial moments like third down or in the red zone. Currently, Washington's red zone defense has improved by about 20%, sitting at around 55%, but adding Crosby could push that even further, turning those stops into true defensive stops that can swing momentum. The NFC East is a division where every game counts, and adding a player of Crosby's caliber could be the difference maker in clinching a division title or securing a higher playoff seed. Now, let's look at the stakes, because this isn't just about adding a talented player, it's about the Super Bowl window. The odds for Washington to reach the Super Bowl have shifted, with some sportsbooks moving their futures from +500 to +30. That's quite a jump, and it reflects the belief that Crosby could be the final piece needed for a deep postseason run. If he can deliver his playoff performance, remember, Crosby averages about 2.5 sacks per playoff game and is a turnover machine with forced fumbles. Washington's chances of making noise in January skyrocket. His ability to generate sacks in the playoffs, combined with his blitz wins and pressure rate, makes him a true game wrecker when it counts most. So, what does this mean for the future? Well, if Washington manages to secure Crosby, assuming they do, of course, it could herald a new era of dominance for their defense. With Jonathan Allen anchoring the interior line, adding Crosby on the edge would create a nightmare scenario for any quarterback facing the Commanders. The combination of interior and exterior pass rushers would be reminiscent of some of the best defensive lines we've seen in recent history, capable of terrorizing offenses and creating a winning culture. This move could also send a message across the league. Washington is not just rebuilding, they're reloading, and they're doing it with an eye toward the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, for the Raiders, it might be a tough pill to swallow, parting ways with Crosby, but it's a strategic decision. They're looking to shed salary, rebuild around younger talent, and draft picks, everything that's on the table right now to set their future on a more sustainable path. Farrell, although not at Crosby's level yet, could develop into a solid piece for their defense, and the second-round pick offers flexibility for future drafts. Still, for Raiders fans, it's a bittersweet moment, seeing a player like Crosby, who's been such a staple of their defense, moved out of town. Now, shifting back to Washington, the fans and the organization have every reason to be excited. This move, if it happens, could be the catalyst for a defense that once again becomes a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. Imagine the pressure on teams like the Eagles or Cowboys who are fighting for playoff positioning. Adding Crosby could tilt the balance in favor of Washington, especially in those critical late-season matchups. It's a move that screams ambition, that says, we're here to contend, and it's exactly what a team trying to reclaim its defensive identity needs. Of course, as with any blockbuster trade, questions remain. Will the Raiders really part with Crosby? Will Washington be able to fit him under the salary cap? And how quickly can he adapt to their system? These are questions that only time will answer, but the mere possibility of this happening has fans dreaming of a new era, one where the Commanders are feared for their pass rush, a team that can crush opponents in the trenches and make a real run at the Super Bowl. So stay tuned, because this story is far from over. We're watching closely, and as soon as more details emerge, I'll be right here to update you. But one thing's clear. If this trade goes through, it could mark the beginning of a new chapter in Washington Commanders history, one where their defense reclaims its former glory and pushes the team toward greatness. The NFC East will never be the same, and the Commanders might just be on the verge of something special. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Washington Commanders news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Washington fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential blockbuster trade? Do you believe Crosby can be the missing piece that finally turns the tide for your defense? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the future of the Commanders. Remember, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for all the latest Washington Commanders news and analysis. This is a story that's just beginning, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds. Thanks for joining me today, and as always, let's keep the passion alive. Go Commanders.